Do you wish you knew exactly how to write a sales post to attract soulmate clients using the most powerful gifts from your astrology chart? Well, guess what? Now you can learn how for free. I'm going to share my cosmic copywriting secrets that have helped people to instantly turn strangers on the internet into buyers for their high-ticket offers. In my 5-part training series, Cosmic Attraction Copywriting, you'll learn the mindset switch that takes my clients from feeling confused about their content or not feeling fully safe to share their story online to making sales more easily and naturally than ever before, with the astrological placement that unlocks a new level of depth in your storytelling that builds trust 10 times faster with the clients who are genuinely a very aligned fit to work with you. Plus, the messaging tweaks that take my clients from attracting people who can't afford it to easy sales into 5-figure offers with no sales calls. And you'll get clarity on the 3 things your soulmate clients need to hear from you consistently in your message to feel confident and excited to buy your offer. You'll also get my writing process prompts to share your story in a powerful way that stands out to the right people and leads to ready to buy clients popping up into your DMs asking to work with you. Click the link in the description for instant access to Cosmic Attraction Copywriting. This is Sarah Mack and welcome to Creative Magic Club. Together, we'll discover inspirational stories of creative entrepreneurs living out their dreams, doing the work they are most passionate about, and building wealth in magical and fun ways. While building a 6-figure income as a writer and coach, helping other women to launch their dream businesses, I've connected with so many incredible people and seen it proven again and again that you can thrive financially doing whatever it is you are passionate about. I'm here to share life-changing strategies for mindset, making money, and reaching more people with your work in a business and life filled with creativity, freedom, and fun. Hi, Sarah Mack here, and welcome back to the Creative Magic Club podcast, here to help you become a 6-figure creative by filling your high-ticket offer through authentic storytelling and an astrology-guided content strategy. So this is part 2 in my astrology marketing series. If you didn't check out part 1, definitely go listen to it, where I talked about overgiving and the roots of that pattern that can show up in our business and lead to overworking and under-earning and undercharging, which is something we're going to be diving into a lot more deeply, particularly how to look for the root cause of these patterns in your astrology chart. How freaking cool is that? So in the last episode, I shared the 3 signs to look out for and what that means according to your individual house placement. So you're going to get lots of tips and insights on how to stop overgiving if you are doing it, and how to take your capacity to receive abundance to the next level. And today we're going to dive into Saturn and some really freaking cool content strategy that is going to help you reach more people and get more traffic organically online, particularly on Instagram, with a new announcement that we're going to talk about that they just made. And I'm going to talk a little bit about my latest obsession with SEO, search engine optimization, and how it's been helping me to organically reach new clients. So before you click away and you're like, this is going to be fucking boring, stay with me. I promise I'm going to make it engaging, and just hear me out. That's all I'm asking. I'm not asking for you to go and become, like an online digital strategy nerd like I am very fast becoming, but I think you're going to love it. So next week will be part 3, and we're going to look at how to leverage your astrology chart to build out content strategy and content systems that actually work for you, to create consistency, to create it joyfully, and to create it sustainably in a way that is actually going to work for you. Um, so if you love using astrology as a lens to grow your business, to make more money, and your number one goal this year is to fill a high ticket offer, then definitely check out my Cosmic Copy Mastermind. That's exactly what we're doing in there all week long, is having these conversations, but you're going to get my specific, strategic, tailored support to you and your business and your astrology chart. So there's no more guesswork. There's no more just talking to Chat GPT and not knowing if they've got it all wrong, which, by the way, it does all the time, unfortunately. Um, and to really feel clear and confident in how to make more sales, how to raise your prices, and attract clients who are a dream come true to work with. And this is a really special and exciting space, unlike no other, where we have 2 monthly deep dive workshops to understand your astrology chart and how to really build those skills to clearly translate your unique magic and gifts into powerful sales copy and content that is attracting dream clients into your high ticket offer on repeat. Plus, inside our weekly group Voxer coaching space, I really take the time to get to know you and your business and to help you navigate through your next steps and to really stay focused on prioritizing the simple content pieces that are going to get you paid so you can ditch all the business busy work and go and enjoy your life. So, if you're tired of questioning your messaging and wondering where the heck your soulmate clients are who are ready to invest in your offers, go and click the link below to apply. Jump in and join us to get the support you deserve. Get the support you deserve to reach your goals this year. So, as of July 2025, Instagram shared an update that it's going to allow posts from professional accounts that are listed as public to be indexed and displayed in Google search results. So, what does this mean? Because you might be thinking, well, Instagram already shows up on Google, but actually, it's just the profiles. And that's why, using keywords in your title and in your bio can be really helpful for attracting organic new clients from organic searches on Instagram. But now all of the content is actually going to be able to show up in a Google search. So, now they have the capacity to detect what you're saying in videos. It's going to read the on-screen captions. It's going to read your captions below. And obviously hashtags, which previously helped you show up in searches in Instagram alone. It's now all going to be searchable, which means you can show up on Google when somebody searches for something related to the content that you're producing. So this is kind of a big deal because one of the main benefits of platforms like YouTube and Google, and I think Pinterest as well, is that I don't know actually if Pinterest is searchable on Google. I just know that it has a lot longer shelf life for the content in terms of searches. And those platforms like YouTube and Pinterest within themselves are search engines that people are using like Google to find answers to their questions. So what this really means is, we're putting in the work for an SEO strategy. Really pays off is when you start ranking for keywords. And a keyword is really just a word or a sentence that people are plugging into a search. So now, because there's so much high quality content on Instagram, obviously there's low quality content on there too, but you can really find answers to your questions on there, or you can find people that can help you solve your problems. I've definitely used Instagram to search for very specific people when I'm curious about learning about a new topic. So what this means is that your Instagram content is just going to have a much longer shelf life, in that it has the capacity to be discovered much, much later after you have published it, which was one of my least favorite things about social media platforms, is that you create content and then it kind of disappears into the void after a few days. And, obviously people can search it out, and you definitely do get people who will stumble across you and then they'll just binge everything you ever posted to really get to know you and, make their decision on if you're the right person that they want to hire. So, but this is exciting because it means, when you are putting in the effort to create really high value content, it can continue serving people and solving people's problems and directing people to your work long, long, long after you have published it. So, I'm going to talk a little bit about that and how we can leverage that to grow our traffic on Instagram more organically. And all that means is getting in front of more people with the internet and the robots doing the work for you without you having to go and DM people, without you having to go and send another email, just by positioning your content in a specific strategic way using keywords. So this is why I want to talk about Saturn, because notice how you feel around this conversation. Are you immediately like, snooze fest? I don't want to add another thing to my to-do list on my, my content strategy. It already feels too much. It already feels like I've got so much to do and I can never get around to all of those pieces of content that I actually want to create. So we're going to talk about that, and I'm going to share my experience. And then you can make up your own mind as to whether or not this is a strategy that you want to play with or not. So I am in my Saturn era. I'm a new woman when it comes to Saturn energy. So what do I mean by that? Let's talk about it. I'm actually living close to my Saturn line here in LA, where I moved actually almost exactly 2 years ago. And this is the vibe, right? When I got here, I was like, I want to set up my office. I want to get a giant standing desk. I've got my extra screen set up for the first time ever since being an entrepreneur. I've got my ergonomic workstation, and I want to do my habits. I want to be healthy. I want to work out. I want to, be in a beautiful office space where I feel good, and I want to get my work done, and I want to work on projects. I bought a filing cabinet. I bought a set of drawers for the office. I am the most organized I have ever been in my whole life. And that's definitely the Virgo rising in me coming out. It's also me leaning more into my Taurus North Node. My office has a door that leads out to our yard. I'm surrounded by plants. But, this is not something that was available to me, nor was it something that I felt comfortable with or chose in previous years as an entrepreneur. And really, I'm in an era of long-term strategy. And that is really the Saturn energy. And I definitely started my business, and I was the kind of person, an entrepreneur, who was in it for the quick wins. I was extremely impatient. My background was in film production, and I remember people telling me that a film project could take up to 5 years, and I was like, oh no, this is not the industry for me. I'm like, that's way too long. And that's part of the thing. One of the things that I loved about social media is I could have an idea, sit down, create a piece of content, share it, and have people read it and be impacted by it and be making money from it within a matter of minutes, hours, days, weeks, like very short time frame. And and it worked. Like, I've made a lot of money. I've made a lot of content. I've launched a lot of things. And that's one way of doing things. I'm not shaming that past version of me, but now I have a little distance, and I've got a little bit older, and I'm making some shifts, and I've learned some lessons in life and entrepreneurship. I can see how I may have held myself back with that mentality and with that mindset. And, I wasn't completely that. Like, I've always had that long-term consistency, and that grounded, just like staying in the game long term. I've never like flip-flopped kind of like inside and outside of my business. I've been really, really consistent with my business, and there are other elements in my chart which support that. I have a lot of earth energy, but I mainly have fire and air. So, I've definitely been through eras of looking into tactics And this is what I see as the difference between tactics and strategy. A tactic is like hashtags or using a trending audio or trying to rank for a certain keyword because it's trending and you're trying to go viral, jumping on trends, looking for those quick wins. That's kind of more like a gambling approach to strategy. Like you may put a lot of time and energy into something and it might not work, as with anything that is creative. But strategy is more, what are those grounded pillars that you are committed to day in, day out, that you're building over the long term? For example, like a podcast or like a social media platform, an email list, your offer suite, right? Like a tactic is more like a flash sale, and those concrete strategies that really are the backbone of your business are, your offer suite and having a high ticket offer that is consistently bringing in the majority of your income. So I definitely went down a lot of rabbit holes exploring different tactics. And I think, a part of that obviously came from just like need. Like I needed to be making money. And I was willing to do what it takes. And, I never did anything that I regret apart from one Instagram growth course that I took that my friend recommended with this guy. And yeah, and he set me up with a bot and was like, use this bot to follow and unfollow people. And I decided to use it to just unfollow everyone on my account because I wanted to, clean up my feed. And I unfollowed more than 100 people in a day. And that's what lost me my account that I'd grown to like 3,000 people. So you can see why the quick wins don't really work. They are more likely to shoot you in the foot. But thankfully, I have had that consistency with my email list and with creating content, even though it's been on different platforms. And I have jumped from platform to platform and, tried out different things. And there's also nothing wrong with that, right? Because we have to find our place on the internet. So let me share my lessons with you so that you don't make the same mistakes. And also reflect on why you make some of the strategic decisions that you are making and some of the strategic choices. Because Saturn's going to give you the lessons that you need. And sometimes we'll do the shiny object syndrome, or we'll outsource our responsibility for generating our goals by, I'll just hire this mentor and that will be the thing that gets me to my goal, or I'll just buy this course, or I'll just try this strategy, or I'll just try this tactic, instead of really taking responsibility for becoming the person who does what she is needed to do, does what she needs to do to bring that goal to life. And my Saturn is in Scorpio. So I was in a lot of avoidance. I was in a lot of shadow Scorpio energy. Scorpio is like really deep emotion. That's one of its strengths, right? So being in the shadow of Scorpio and not fully owning that power within myself looked like the avoidance of going deep emotionally. And that's kind of the difference between tactic and strategy. Tactics are like surface level. Strategy is really doing that in-depth work. It's like, let me think of another analogy. The Cosmic Copy Mastermind is the place to get the support that will bring your dream of becoming a six-figure creative to life in 2025 by selling your high-ticket offers with sales copy driven by stories and guided by astrology. Your goal is to fill your high-ticket offer with dreamy soul clients. But right now, you're wondering what exactly needs to shift in your content to start seeing consistent sales month after month, right? You're posting consistently, and maybe you're even getting great engagement, but you can't quite figure out why people aren't lining up to buy your life-changing offer. You know your work is incredible. Maybe you're even getting a ton of referral clients. But when it comes to putting your unique magic into words that clearly paint the picture of what it's actually like to work with you, it feels complicated. Or maybe you keep getting in your head about your high ticket prices and thinking that that's the problem. Well, let me tell you, it's not your price. You're not alone in this. It's not easy to put your magic into clear copy that converts when you try to do it alone. I've made multiple six figures in my business, and I've written copy for more than 1,000 entrepreneurs, and I continually invest in mentorship around messaging. Why? Because it makes it easier to consistently create content that leads to sales every month. That's why I created this mastermind, where we'll use your astrology chart to remind you of your unique genius, gifts, and personal story, using personalized prompts with my hands-on support and edits to translate all your magic into content that's building your six-figure brand in a way that feels authentic, aligned, and so much fun. This is my magic, helping you to attract deeply compatible clients through authentic storytelling driven by your unique astrology, and doing it in an inspiring community of other creative entrepreneurs making big moves, living life to the full, and building your version of a six-figure dream business. Message me the word mastermind on Instagram at SarahMacMagic for the full details. You know, it's like going to the gym and lifting some weights once versus committing, or like hiring a personal trainer and getting one personal training session and expecting to get results versus committing to going to the gym 3 times a week for a year or 2 or 3 or 5, right? It's like the level of commitment is going to bring you the level of results. And it's only by going deep and really committing long term that's going to bring you the level of results that you really desire in the way that's right for you, right? We might get some superficial wins or some surface level results, but they're not lasting. And I've done, you know, if you've listened to my podcast, you know my story about how stepping into entrepreneurship really forced me to do a lot of that deep emotional processing work. That really came up around my relationship with money. And I do have a little bit of Scorpio in I actually have Pluto and Scorpio in my second house. So this is just a big part of my journey, which has become a big part of my work and the work that I do with clients. And I really had to do that deep work to get to the root cause of these, which were essentially survival patterns, keeping me superficial, you know, keeping me in avoidance of doing that deep, uncomfortable transformational work, which is why I always recommend accompanying any, you know, strategic work and strategic coaching with subconscious work. And really your mindset is the bridge between those two things, right? Like doing the work on your mindset, it is the most powerful place to start because it's going to start to kick up all of that unconscious stuff that's in the way of you moving forward to embodying what it is that you're focused on, what it is that you're envisioning. But it's so important to back that with emotional and energetic support systems to help us move through the resistance and the ick that naturally comes up when we start to step into that next level strategy. And now I'm, you know, really diving into using our astrology charts to help clients to identify their specific needs around this, which it just leads to less trial and error, and it saves a lot of time, right? When you know you're compatible with a strategy or with a support system, or you know your particular flavor of resistance and self-sabotage, then you can confidently address that. So I also have Saturn in my 3rd house next to my South Node. So, you know, communication and community and also siblings are represented by the 3rd house. So there's a lot in my chart that points me to helping people sift through their family drama that's getting in the way of them sharing their message with more people and growing their visibility and income. And by family drama, I mean actual relationships that trigger us, but also those, you know, those deep ancestral patterns that we inherit from our family that most of the time show up in our familial relationships. And show up in our relationship with money. There's always so much crossover with how easeful and joyful our capacity is to receive money, the patterns that are going on in our key relationships. Like that's the place where we gather data. These are our strongest mirrors for the work that we generally don't want to look at or do, and have built a lot of coping mechanisms around avoiding. Saturn, similarly to Chiron, brings us challenges that lead to skill building. And the skills that we build through these challenges become very valuable resources to us in our work and life. And many of the skills that your clients now pay you for were likely developed through challenges that shifted you in particular directions with your own work. I just created a Saturn and SEO strategy workshop in the Cosmic Copy Mastermind last week. And this is the perfect example of marrying a deep strategy with a tactic. So I showed you in this class how to get really clear on those skills that you have developed through the growth that Saturn has brought you throughout your life, and then turn them into search engine optimized titles to grow your reach and get in front of the right people online. It's pretty freaking cool, right? So, side note, yes, you get instant access to that step-by-step process and workbooks when you join the Cosmic Copy Mastermind. But here's a little illustration of my like before and after when I was in the early stages of my business. I started out in in Bali and in India, and I was literally lugging 2 suitcases of my worldly belongings with me. Took that on a flight from India back to my mum's house in the UK. At that point, I was selling $5 to a few $100 writing gigs, just fluttering like a little butterfly on the wind between what turned into 18 different countries, bringing all my worldly belongings around with me, aside from a small stash of things in my friend's storage locker in Vancouver. I was literally doing my groceries in different currencies every month. Sometimes every week I was in a different grocery store. And, yes, I had a very adventurous life, and that was really a desire for me, was to explore the world. A lot of movement was actually, you know, caused because of my visa situation. I didn't have residency anywhere for like a year during that time. I hadn't lived in the UK for a long time. I didn't have status in Canada. I didn't have status in the US. So I was kind of just floating around. And, there's a reason why I left the UK. I was running from a lot of pain and discomfort of doing the real healing work. And that was born from the family dynamic in which I grew up. And I was also, I didn't have that, I didn't have the structures to be doing the deep transformational skill building needed to bring my vision to life. I mean, that's not completely true. I started with the basics of digital marketing. And, that was really enough for me to build a full-time income and to serve over 1,000 of very happy clients as a copywriter. So I got there one skill at a time, like no shame in the game. Like we're all figuring it out over here. And then after launching my own business, and kind of transitioning from that freelance work, I really had to start filling in more of the skill gaps beyond SEO and copywriting and money mindset. And one of my biggest challenges as someone with ADHD living a very chaotic life was that just kind of like boring strategic back end work, particularly when, my life was just on the move all the time. So it was moving to New York where I finally got a home office space. And it wasn't until moving to LA that I finally got a freaking filing cabinet. And you might be like, this is so boring. This is not on my vision board to have a filing cabinet. It wasn't on mine either. But I got to the point where I was just bored of the chaos and, not being able to find something when I needed it. I didn't file my taxes for 3 years in a row, twice. And that was putting stress on my life that was ultimately draining energy away from my creativity and my capacity to do the things that I was really excited about. And it didn't get in the way. Let's be honest. Like, I still have been doing all the things that I wanted, but to create even more ease and joy and spaciousness and groundedness and security, these are some of the things that I've been working on. And I can see now, looking back, why systems, structure, and organization, or the lack of it, created so much stress and chaos for me. And, it did and it didn't. And there's a season for everything. And I really believe and feel now more than ever to just trust the chapter you're in. And this is not a sermon on you need to be more organized and these things are more important than other things in your business, because they're absolutely not. Everything has its place. And I always think, I think of everything in terms of like motherhood and babies now. Now that we're like doing IVF and we've been trying for a baby for a long time. And I've thought about this in the context of business before too. It's like, if you want anything to thrive, and this is age-old advice that you'll hear anyone who succeeded at anything tell you. If you want to succeed, you have to go all in consistently on the priorities and the true necessities, and just give it all you've got, and not give it all you've got to the point of overgiving. Give it all you've got from a place of high performance, from a place of integrity. And just like having a baby, those first few years of the baby's life are so intense because the baby's completely reliant on you. All of its needs are dependent on you. It's feeding, it's pooping, it's bathing, it's moving. And that's why having a baby is freaking intense. But as as the baby learns to feed itself and learns to walk without you, you start to get a little bit more bandwidth back as a parent. Similarly to a business, right? Like in the beginning, and honestly always, is sales and marketing is priority. Like, if you want to be making money from your business as you're growing, then sales and marketing, number one priority every damn day, no matter what. And if you don't have time to deal with the rest, you're just going to make it work and you're going to sustain it as best you can, right? Like when you have a baby, I'm sure there's a ton of personal adulting things that just fall off the table, and you sustain it for that period. And then eventually down the line, you start to bring those things back in again when you have a little bit more bandwidth. And this is true of any career or any major project. You have to give it your all if you want to give yourself the chance to meet the goals that you set every day. And when you do that, you can't not succeed eventually. And I always think that with business and with social media, I'm like, when you have a baby, you don't just decide some days that you don't want to feed it, or, oh, I can't be bothered to like put it to bed tonight, or, and it's like, that's true commitment and devotion to this project. And it's nowhere near as hard as that to run a business, right? Like, you can sit in your pajamas and do all of your sales and marketing from your phone without even needing to leave the house, right? So no excuses for really committing to that strategy that you've decided on to get to your goals. And we're gonna break down the strategy in a little more detail next week. But this is really more about the mindset and the lessons and the growth that Saturn brings us. So really committing to cash flow and sales until you have some of that recurring income coming in, then you can start to reprioritize some other projects in your business. And obviously this is the benefit of high ticket, is it's high cash flow with a low number of clients. This is the benefit of having longer term offers. This is why I now don't offer anything shorter than 6 months. And I think I'm going to go even higher with both of with my mastermind. I think I'm going to take it up to 9 months. Because obviously that is great for me and my business, but it also creates even better results for my clients when they have a minimum commitment of working with me for a really long time. So we're always chipping away at all the things, but it's so important to know our true priorities. And the better we get, this is that high performance conversation again. The better we get at doing the things that are a non-negotiable priority, the more space and bandwidth and skill we can build for the other things, which ultimately just strengthens the whole system. So why is SEO such an important conversation right now? So I want to share briefly my journey with it and what's working. So, back in the day when I started my business, I was launching things all the time. I was creating new content every day. I was creating new offers every month. I was creating new workshops every month, and it works, right? Like it works. But as the years have gone in my business, I've obviously created so much content and refined what I'm doing that I've been able to build signature offers that I have created launch content for that I can repurpose. And I have systems to be able to launch things without having to be on and creating new things all the time. And website SEO is something that I got interested in, of that long-term strategy. And this was a 2020 project for me. I actually started a new website. I wanted to build it on WordPress because of the long-term SEO capabilities. And I started, really paying attention to my back end. So I wasn't just creating all the time, but I was really starting to think with more of a long-term strategic perspective. And so I have my stats back from 2020. That's when I started collecting stats on my website and my social media and just how things were performing. And back then, my website was getting around 400 views a month. And then in 2021, that went up to around 1,000. And from 2022 up until now, it's been around 2,000 views a month. So, you can see how that growth has been happening very slowly. And it's not like I get a ton of organic traffic from my website. The majority of my website traffic is from directly promoting it on social media. But when we're looking from an analytical standpoint, 1% is a general industry standard conversion rate. So if you get in front of 2,000 people, if you convert 1% of those, then that's 20 people that you've captured. So the goal of my website is to get people onto my email list. So if 2,000 people land on my site, let's say, that's like a minimum of 20 people a month that I got coming onto my email list. So within the coaching industry and within the types of businesses that we are running in this corner of the internet, conversion rates are going to be much, much higher than 1% because we lead with storytelling, because we lead with emotional connection, and because we're personal brands. So connection and trust is built so much faster and so much more deeply that conversion rate can go up significantly higher. If you haven't listened to my past podcast episode about how I had a 100% conversion rate, I had one person watch my masterclass and then she joined my $6,000 one-on-one coaching package. Things like that can happen, right? But these stats are they're a good reminder to keep going. This is honestly my view of why stats are helpful, because I might feel like, oh, this isn't working. And I definitely have felt like that with my website, which is probably why I've plateaued since 2022. That's probably when I checked out of the strategy that I was using. But thank goodness for tracking my stats, because I got to look back and see like, yeah, the growth is really small, but it's happening. So if you just keep going, where are you going to be in 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, 10 years, right? And this lesson I really learned through using SEO in my podcasts and seeing how that was moving my views from like 20 to 30 up to, for each episode, up to 70, 80, 90, 100 downloads an episode. It's definitely attribute this to my ADHD and that past pattern of constantly chasing the quick hit wins and the quick hits and the instant dopamine. That's why I jumped from shiny object to shiny object and switched up my strategy instead of sticking with the ones that I wanted to long term. And also, no shame, because we don't know unless we try other things, right? But this is why I am recommending to you to pick a strategy. And this is why I love bringing in astrology to guide us in these decisions and really knowing who we are and knowing what our strengths and weaknesses are, because then we're making a strategically sound choice, right? We're not choosing because, well, this coach I just saw on Instagram had a load of success with this and that's why I'm choosing it, but really choosing from this is who I am. Also, this is the phase of life I'm in. These are my needs right now. And this is the strategy that feels in the most alignment and feels like the path of least resistance and the most joy. And yes, there's always going to be resistance. There's always going to be challenges that we have to overcome, right? Like that is just the nature of any big goal that is beyond our current reality. But making very intentional choices and noticing, am I switching my strategy right now because I'm bored and I want a dopamine hit? Or I'm trying to avoid some challenging work? Or is it truly from a place that is in alignment with my long-term vision? And only you can answer that question, right? And things change, like who knew that Substack was going to come out? And there'll always be new social media platforms that have extra reach than the existing ones. And the existing ones are always going to become more saturated and they're always going to move the goalpost every single freaking month with new features and new ways of doing things. And that's just business. And that's just the world that we live in right now, right? But knowing those consistent ways that you love having conversations with your people that grow real connections, real community, and is creatively fulfilling for you. That is the key to a successful long-term strategy. So just reflect on where you are around this conversation. Highly recommend tracking your stats and seeing the growth, no matter how small. And yes, it will go up and down. And really being in it for the slow build. Because, I had no clue what I was doing with stuff in the beginning. I was paying VAs to figure out stuff for me that I just felt scrambled by and didn't want to have to figure out, like setting up my Google Analytics, like building my website. But just know over time, you're going to build these skills and these things are going to feel less overwhelming. And you're going to get there one step at a time, one deep breath at a time. And so now I've been using SEO strategy to grow my podcast, really inspired by my frustration with social media and the very, very short shelf life, which is now changing, which I'm so excited about for all of us. Obviously ranking on Google is like a whole other ballpark, but that doesn't mean that, the possibilities and the options aren't there. And, seeing that very slow growth in my podcast, but seeing it happen. And what the cool thing is, by the end of this year, I'm projected to have had more downloads than I had the entire 21, 22, 23, 24, the entire 4 years prior. And how this is happening is I'm targeting each episode for specific keywords. And so now when I search for those keywords in Apple iTunes, my episodes are showing up in the search. So that is when you have a successful keyword strategy, is when your stuff is showing up in the top few selections of the keyword that you're targeting, which is why it's best to target low search keywords, because it's better to show up top in a low search keyword than to get buried in a very popular keyword where someone would never even probably get to your content, right? And the best part about this is the reason why it's working, right? These are not just vanity metrics of like, oh, now you are good at SEO and podcasting, but people are actually finding me through my podcast and signing up to work with me, independent of following me on social media, which was really always the goal with this strategy. So the cool thing about when you have a proven strategy, and to me, it's proven when it leads to a paying client. Like when something has led to a paying client and you love that client and they love you, they're a good fit for your work, they're exactly the type of person that you want to work with, you have a functioning content strategy, and then all you need to do is keep doing it and keep improving it and keep growing it. And that is just going to scale to more and more and more people through that avenue. So the goal is to get to a place in your business where you like the way that you're bringing in clients, you know how to do it, and it's working. Then all you need to do is do it more to increase the frequency. And I am still driving traffic to my podcast from social, but maybe one day I actually won't need to do that. And this is a lesson that I learned from launching my free series, Cosmic Attraction Copywriting, last year, which was my most successful free 5-part series where I was blending astrology with content, really blending all the skills that I'm most passionate about to create a unique solution and get really good at talking about it. And it took me a bit of time to get there, right? Like I'd been doing a lot of messaging and copywriting and money mindset, but astrology was a newer thing for me over the past few years. And I had imposter syndrome around it and I wasn't sure how much I wanted to bring it into my brand. And so I was in a period of experimentation. It was the year before I created my first series on content and astrology that also did really well and also led to a lot of clients for me. So once I saw that I had, cracked the code, created something that was supporting people, bringing in the right people and leading to paying clients, I created another one. And then that became a really powerful piece of evergreen free content that continued to funnel clients into my high ticket offers. And this is what showed me, I can get really good at repeatable content. I can build on previous work and I can create a body of work and really just continue fine tuning and refining. And to bring this back to this central theme of Saturn that I want to hammer home today is having that long-term vision, knowing where you want to be, and importantly, knowing how you want to get there, right? Don't do tactics that you hate doing. Don't do things that feel like you're sacrificing your integrity or your soul, or you're doing a ton of busy work that is not joyful for you. Get good at the ways you want to be bringing clients into your business, through which there are 10,000 million options for us right now. So you get to pick what's most fun for you, and to remember this phase of your business that you're in, it's not forever. And I'm really stuck in my head something that Amy Porterfield once said, that building an audience can be worth the value of a house over your lifetime. And I really want to emphasize this part of it, which is that you must own that audience on your email list. Imagine having, several hundred thousands of dollars worth of assets that belongs to a social media company and could just disappear if they decide to shut down or kick you off. Like, this is real. So, I've constantly grown my email list and it's still small, but it's made me hundreds of thousands of dollars. And those are my main assets, and the main places that people buy from me now is my podcast and my email list, and obviously social media as well. So how you're building is so, so, so important. Keep that long-term vision in mind. And you really have to start with valuing and respecting everything you have already. The people who are there, even if there's 5 downloads or 1 like or 1 comment or no freaking comments. You have to respect the assets that you're creating and know that everything is leading you to that long-term vision, as long as you stay focused on where you're going and as long as you're really being intentional around how you're building to get there and not flip-flopping. And so this brings me around to why SEO is awesome in digital marketing. So whether or not you decide that it's something you want to explore in your strategy, here's why it can be really valuable to even dip your toe in the water, is because it really helps us become better content marketers. And what does that mean? It helps us get better at speaking to our people and becoming relevant to them and becoming noticed by them. So beyond the goal of growing your visibility on online searches, simply doing the keyword research, simply knowing the language that your clients are actually using and actually putting in to Google. And I use a tool called Keywords Everywhere to do my keyword research. Google also has a keyword research tool as well. And what this is going to do is show you what people are actually interested in, what they're actually looking for, and the words that they're using to describe their problems and challenges and desires. And the biggest benefit, in my opinion, of knowing the keywords for your work is to get you out of speaking in technical industry fluff, which is so easy to fall into when you're immersed in your work and when you're maybe not having as many conversations with current clients, or maybe when you're launching a new product or service. And it's also just a bad habit, frankly, that so many of us often fall into when we're talking about our work. When you're not extremely focused and you're putting out a piece of content and you kind of like waffle, it's not going to have any resonance, which is why it's so important to be intentional with every single piece of content that you put out there, because it has the capacity to lead to thousands of dollars for you from the perfect fit clients when you do it right. And it's very eye-opening, right? To start to think, what is the language that other people are using to describe what I do? And I know this can be particularly challenging for those of us who are in the healing arts and who, do a little bit more like esoteric work. But there's always an SEO strategy that you can build that is going to work for you, because what do we know for sure? Your people are online. What do we know for sure? Your people have problems that they need help with. So keywords are really a direct path to thinking what your people are thinking, to searching what they're searching, and showing up in the places that they are currently looking for answers, so you can show up and be of service to them with your products and services. And then obviously when you know what some of these keywords are and you land on some that are really working for you and that really, encapsulate the uniqueness of the work that you do. And this is a benefit that, people in my community have, is that we're marrying multiple skills. Like for me, copywriting is a great keyword. Money mindset isn't an amazing one, but like other money keywords are good. And astrology keywords are great. So by combining those, I know that when someone lands on my content and they've got there through one of my keywords and then they resonate with everything that I'm talking about, that for sure is my soulmate client. Like we're going to love working together when people find my content, are like, oh, that's for me. And then they enjoy what I have to say. For sure, we're going to be a great match. And I found that more and more since getting more into that kind of like deep niche specificity with my work, with my podcast, with my online social media content. So this is the majority of the work that I do with clients, because a lot of the time we're kind of blind to some of our deepest skills. And this is why it's so valuable to look at our Saturn and to really reflect, what are the skills that my challenges have brought me? Because some of them, we maybe developed a few years ago, but they're actually a fundamental building block in the work that we do with our clients today. And so bringing that forward in your content and maybe even targeting some of it through your SEO can actually bring you perfect fit clients who will instantly recognize the value that you're able to provide for them. So this is really the goal. And when you do get to that clarity, that's magic, right? So if all of this sounds overwhelming, it's all good. I've been there. But know this, search engine optimization, it's not actually that complicated. But if you do want my help to build out and test a personalized keyword strategy, we can work on that together inside the Cosmic Copy Mastermind. And we're going to have so much fun doing it. You do not need to do this alone. And it can give you so many great insights. And what my clients in the mastermind have been finding is it's actually been inspiring them with so many content ideas and given them so much confidence with the angles that are unique to them that are for sure going to make them stand out in their other content. So let me know what comes up for you around this conversation, and stay tuned. Next week, I'm going to be talking about using your astrology to build content strategy and how to prioritize what actually works and to find a way to do it joyfully, which is what matters most, right? So I hope you've loved this episode. Let me know your takeaways. I love it when I get messages from you. Let me know if you're like, hate SEO, not going to do it, hated this episode, don't want to hear you talk about this anymore. tell me. I'm here for it. Tell me if you're curious. Tell me if you're like really inspired. Tell me if you go out and apply some of these insights from the episode today and what came up for you. Like, I want to hear the juicy goss. Don't keep me out in the cold. Send me a DM on Instagram at Sarah McMagic or Creative Magic Club. And stay tuned for next week's part 3 in my astrology marketing series. Sending you so much love. Please share this episode with someone that you know will love it. And please, please, please go and leave me a review over on iTunes, and I will love you forever. Okay, see you next week. Bye. For more inspirational content, head over to my website withsarahmac.com, and please support the show by liking, commenting, and subscribing.